In this video, we're going to create a program that allows you to place an X on a map using a 2-digit input. And it's kind of basically going to represent like a treasure map. And the first digit you enter will represent the column, and the second is going to represent the row. I'm going to run the program now just so you can see what it's going to do when it's finished. So it has 3 rows, each with squares, and it's asking, where do you want to put the treasure? And you have to type in 2 numbers, and it's going to have to be from 1 to 3. So we'll do 21, and it's placing the X here. And the reason why it's placing X here is because the first digit represents a column. So first column, second column, and then the second digit, the 1, will represent the row. Let's run it again and type in a different number. Ask where do you want to put the treasure. We'll do 12 this time. And it's going to come on the second row. The first digit is the 1, so it represents this column here. And the second digit, being a 2, is representing the second row. So how do you create this program? So I've already written a few comments. Basically, the instructions. Your job is to write a program that allows you to mark a square or an X on the map using a 2-digit system. The first digit in the input will specify the column, which is the position on the horizontal axes. And the second digit in the input will specify the row number, which is the position on the vertical axes. I've already entered in 3 different rows. We're using squares as the default symbol. So, and these are all lists. So we're going to create a variable. We're going to call it map. And we're going to create a list, and we're going to add row 1, row 2, and row 3 to it. This map variable is going to represent the entire treasure map. We'll create a print statement now with an F string because we're going to use all these variables. And this is just going to print out what the map looks like before the user enters any input. And we're going to want to use line breaks just to have the layout of the map. So if we were to run it now, it's just going to print up what the map looks like. So at this point, we're going to want to ask the user for the input that they're going to enter. So we'll create a variable, we'll call it position. And since it's a question, you start with input. And we're just going to say, where do you want to put the treasure? Now, since we know the first number in the input is the horizontal axes or the column, we're going to have to create another variable. We'll call it horizontal, and we need to assign it as an integer rather than a string. And we know it's going to be the first number in the user input, so we're going to use 0. And then we need to do the same thing for the second number in the user input. We'll call it vertical. Once again, you have to make it an integer, and the position will be 1. Now at this point, we're going to take the user input and we're going to use that number that they provide and make it an X on the map. So we need to use map, the map variable. Now the user has to enter numbers from 1 to 3, and since they can't enter 0, we have to subtract 1 from the number that they input. So we're going to use vertical minus 1. Because if they were to enter 3, these 3 digits here would be outside of it because it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So you have to minus 1 in order to get it to fit on the list. Otherwise, it's going to be out of range. And then we're going to do the same exact thing with horizontal. You have to subtract 1. So what this is basically doing is it's taking the map and it's giving 2 different index points. The first input being vertical, -1. So if the user entered in the number 12, we know that the second number is the vertical axis. So it would be 2 minus 1 would be 1. Down, you look at the chart, it's going to go down 1. So we know it's going to be on this row here. And then the first number being 1 is going to be 1 minus 1 will be 0. It's going to be on the 0 column, which is this right here, 0, 1, 2. So we know that the actual X will be here. And we have to give it a value, so we're going to use X. And then now we're just going to run a print command. So let's run our code now. It's going to list the map layout without an X on it because we haven't entered any input. It says, where do you want to put the treasure? We'll do 11. And what it's doing is it's picking the first column for 1 and then the first row for 1 also. And let's do another example. We'll run the code. It creates the map. Where do you want to put the treasure? We'll do 22 this time. And it's placing it on the second column on the second row. If you have any other ways or ideas on how to complete this assignment, please go ahead and post a comment. Thank you.